Happy Sunday, everybody. We are back. Another beautiful Sunday to go live. Did this last week, worked out pretty good. Got a lot of people chiming in, talk some of the latest news. KOTOR maybe getting a movie. I mean, who knows? There's a lot of good things to talk about right now. And, joining me today, we got our first guest on our little midday Sunday lives, and it's Mike from A Guy Who Loves Star Wars. How is it going, my guy?
I'm doing good. How are you?
Man, doing good. And like I told you before stream, I've been chiming into your lives a little bit more, and I'm loving all of the new news that isn't really, I feel, talked about too much other than what you see on Instagram
Yeah.
and Twitter. And it's good that, people like you are actually going in depth and talking theories, because my favorite thing in Star Wars, other than, taking in and soaking up all the new Star Wars lore and context going forward with the new series, is the theories. Always thinking every single day, how can Grogu be the next Tar Vizsla? How can Ahsoka, transcend into the Mortis gods? Like stuff like that. I
Yeah.
love the theories. So I'm always glad that you do that, and I'm glad to have you joining me today.
Well, thanks for having me. And yeah, I mean, the theory stuff, it doesn't get more fun than that as a Star Wars fan because, yeah, you're probably wrong 95% of the time, but it's still just the funnest part of being a Star Wars fan. Yes, you can watch the shows when they come out and do the breakdowns and all that, but it's all this, especially because Ahsoka, like you just brought up, season one ending the way that it did with all those cliffhangers and unanswered questions.
Yeah.
It's got Star Wars fans asking some insane things about what could happen in season two that could come out next year, which is great.
Yeah, who knows what's gonna happen, dude? Because I got some notes here today for what we're gonna talk about. So pretty much everything today, guys, is all the Mandoverse. We have 4 shows. We got a movie finally coming in May of Mandalorian and Grogu, and this is
Yeah,
all
we
set in
do.
the Mandoverse 5 to 7 years after Return of the Jedi. So there's a lot of gray area there. And I'm loving the Mandoverse so far. I think everything's good. Huge Boba Fett, Book of Boba Fett fan over here. I know a lot of people don't really like it as much as others, but I just soaked it all up. Absolutely love that. Mando, of course, is great. Ahsoka is great, and Skeleton Crew was definitely different, but at the same time, it was really good for what it is. So all 4 of
Mm.
those containing the Mandoverse. So it's a good little area.
Yeah, I love that you bring up the Book of Boba Fett because I think it gets way too much hate. I think it's
Yeah.
one of those projects that if people go back and watch it after, I mean, it's been 3 years, after a set period of time, you go back and watch it and go, huh, I thought it was a lot worse than this. Like you see it in a whole different light. I think a few Star Wars Disney Plus shows hurt from doing the week to week release. Like if the Book of Boba Fett all dropped at the same time, or maybe like 2 different releases, like episode 1 through 4 and then episode 5 through 7, it would have maybe worked a little bit better. But yeah, I completely agree with you. I think the Book of Boba Fett is extremely underrated, especially those last 3 episodes. They're all just incredible.
Yeah, absolutely, dude.
Yeah.
I remember waiting till 2 a.m. release night. Book of Boba Fett is finally here after getting, the tease at the end of one of the greatest Star Wars episodes in a
Yep.
season series of all time with the rescue. So seeing Boba Fett in the end credit scene get his own little shine and getting his own show, dude, I thought it was great.
Yeah.
But that first episode of Book of Boba Fett, I always wanted to know how Boba actually got out of the Sarlacc pit, or what
Yeah.
happened. Did the Sarlacc pit get blown up and he somehow was able to make his way out? No, we get to just we saw what happened, and I just thought that was great. And then the flashbacks to Camino,
Yep.
flashback to the Geonosis arena, like, dude, like this is peak, man. This is great.
It is really cool because in a world where the joke about Star Wars is nobody's ever truly dead, like the somehow Palpatine return meme is all over the place. They do a really good job of bringing Boba back from the dead because most people think since 1983, he's been dead. So to bring that character back to life, it's very difficult to accomplish. And to watch him just come up from the sand and just grab and then pull himself out and then be a Tusken Raider for like 5 or 6 years, it's they do a really good job.
Yeah, that's amazing, and that's so cool, and it adds so much to Boba and his character. When people called him Beta Fett, it's like, guys, do you not? We just got a whole episode or two about what he went through for this entire
Yeah,
time. Of course, he's like that. And then I
yeah,
also love the Boba Fat memes. You're looking a little thick, but when you wear Tuscan robes underneath
yeah.
some Beskar, you're gonna look thick. All right.
Yeah.
Come on.
People act like a near-death experience and then 5 years in the desert with some Tusken Raiders isn't gonna change you. Like,
Oh, yeah. No. I mean, what was it? How long was Boba in the Sarlacc pit? It was like under a day, right?
yeah, it wasn't that long, but again, he's almost dying in there, and then he survives, or thinks he's probably gonna die. He survives, and then he's off being a family man with the Tuskens for a whole
Right.
time.
Yeah,
And
just sitting in some stomach acid for,
yeah,
less than a day is gonna obviously do some stuff to you.
yeah, that's why he has to sit in the bacta tank for, like, weeks on end. Uh, Also, when you watch Boba Fett in the Clone Wars, like, you watch young Boba, it's so on brand that he becomes eventually sort of a good guy in a way, because even when he wants to kill Mace Windu, he only wants to kill Mace Windu. When you watch those Clone Wars arcs, he doesn't want to be the bad guy. He's just a kid. Like, he wants to do the right thing other
Right.
than kill Mace Windu. So it is very on brand for the character. People just maybe didn't watch the Clone Wars or forget about that. I don't know.
Yeah, it's always very interesting, because for the most part, Star Wars always puts it right in front of your face.
Yeah.
It's right there the whole time. Now, is every story told to the best of its abilities? No. I mean, that's another main thing being a Star Wars fan. There's a lot of criticisms and there's a lot of things, but I mean, it's even in your name of your channel, a guy who loves Star Wars. It's like, yeah, I'm one of those too. I love Star Wars. And I always want to talk about the good things. Although talking about the weird things sometimes is always good as well, because now you know what to expect from future projects. It's
Yeah,
all fun. It's all fun.
it is. True.
But here to chime in with some of the comments here, already starting off pretty rampant. Skywalking Ryan, happy Sunday, everyone. I'm going out this morning, but I'll watch the playback. Have a fun show. Appreciate that, man. Always chiming into the lives. Just had him recently on the podcast as well, guys. Go check that episode out. Star Wars Nerd, have a great day, Ryan. You too. Darth Plagueis lives. Hello there. What's up? What's up? Familiar person from Mike Streams.
Oh, yeah.
How Runner Base, what's up? Always in here. Love this guy. Mike Baca. What's good? Are you watching the Broncos game? I was watching the Broncos game, Mr. Wilson. It was it's pretty treacherous. I think it's still 10-11. Hopefully we can pull that out. London game, always weird.
Yeah.
That guy B. Hey everyone, what's up? What's up? Absolutely loved it. Yeah, Book of Boba Fett was awesome.
Loved it.
Book of Boba Fett is almost unwatchable. Yeah,
the exact opposite response.
It happens.
But again, yeah, no, that's the coolest part about Star Wars, and especially the Mandoverse itself. You have very different projects that all sort of connect to each other in one way or another. From something as simple as the Mandalorian, which is just a bounty hunter who happens upon this child, to something like a show about pirates with Skeleton Crew, or Ahsoka, which adds a brand new galaxy and all this lore to the Force and stuff. It's pretty much like whatever you want. You like bounty hunters, you got the Mandalorian. You like lightsabers and Jedi and the Force and stuff, you got Ahsoka. You like pirates and smugglers and whatever, you got Skeleton Crew. You like the underworld, you like the Tatooine stuff and Boba Fett, you got the Book of Boba Fett. Like, it's whatever you want. And then you can go even broader than the Mandalorian. If you like a spy thriller, you got Andor. You like the Jedi versus Sith, you got the Acolyte. Like, this, anything you want, you got. And Disney or Lucasfilm, I should say, has really broaden the horizons so that fans of all these different characters can get what they want. So honestly, I see comments like that and I'm like, I like the Book of Boba Fett, so I'm like, okay, whatever. But I understand that people don't like those things, but they also like other things. And I could be a Star Wars fan, he could be a Star Wars fan, and that doesn't change anything, But it is funny just when you see something like that, like Book of Boba Fett, loved it, and then the next comment is, it's unwatchable. That's the Star Wars fandom. That, in a nutshell, that's what it is.
Yeah, and that's the thing too, is people forget that that's okay. It's okay to not like it.
Exactly. That's okay.
At the end of the day, whatever resonates to you. I mean, whatever you're going through at the time when the show comes out, that's something I always think of too. Because like even the Acolyte, I do enjoy the Acolyte and still do. I could definitely go back and watch it for a fourth, fifth time. But at the same time, it was just the family time, having with the wife and having with my little brother every single Tuesday night. We watched every episode that came out, and it was just great leading up to the end. So it's always with the vibes too.
Yeah.
Book of Boba Fett Boba over the original trilogy Boba. You know, I can kind of get down on that because the character is a little more fleshed out. OT Boba, you know, he's very mysterious,
Yeah.
just chilling in the background, you know. So I mean, yeah, I mean, Book of Boba Fett Boba has more context to him.
Yeah, I think the original trilogy Boba Fett only has like 4 lines or something like that. Like
Four
it was
lines and
the
like 6 minutes of screen time.
yeah, it was the mystery of the character that people liked so much.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, it's very interesting. Book of Boba Fett had Power Ranger level writing and production. I mean,
Well, you do have the Vespa Gang, which is my favorite.
go Power Rangers.
Exactly.
Hello there. What's up, Darth? How you doing? That guy B back in there again. Mando United. Hey guys, what's up? How's it going? Got good. Hey, Darth Plagueis, How Runner Base, shouting out everybody. Comments looking good. Everybody's chilling. Sweet. Everything is watchable. Love this comment right here. I wish I could pin it. I don't think you can do that on StreamYard yet, but this is a great thing for Star Wars.
Yeah.
Can't be mad at that. Okay, so kind of diving into it. First thing we'll go over is and I told you before stream as well, like I kind of pulled this from your latest live stream that I checked into. We're talking about Balin's skull. What is calling to him? Where is he going? Is he going to have to go to another planet? Is he just going to stay on Peridia? Is this temple with the beam? It's all very Mortis from Clone Wars esque. It's all right there. So some of your comments and the things you were talking about were Balin. Could he switch up? Is he going to be is something calling to him? Is he going to go to the pool of knowledge, the thing that Abeloth soaked in to become immortal, and it kind of brought chaos? You know, that's basically the entitlement that she gets. So, what do we think? Are we still high on that? Balin going, maybe finding the pool of knowledge? Will he find the sun? Like, what do we think's calling to him?
Yeah, I mean, it's very hard to tell. I feel like the Star Wars fandom as a whole has just assumed that Abeloth is coming. So this sort of theory comes off the backs of, what if that's not the case? What if Abeloth isn't actually even going to be in Ahsoka season 2 and she doesn't even exist in canon? That's a possibility, and that's sort of one we have to talk about. And it's a great idea of Balin Skull when he talks about in season 1 this power that he's searching for that could stop this never-ending fight of good versus evil in the galaxy. He might be talking about himself. And he might be talking about a power that he's searching for to give to himself, not a specific being like Abeloth. And as you just brought up, in Legends, Abeloth gets her powers and her abilities from that pool of knowledge in the fountain of power, or whatever it is, vice versa. Mm-hmm. And she becomes one of the most powerful beings in the whole galaxy. She was a mortal being, and after swimming in that, she becomes this insanely powerful being. So if that's what Balin is looking for, and he actually reaches that goal, then he could become one of the most powerful beings in Star Wars, which is scary, but it also could, in a way, solve the issue of the recast. Because if people don't know, of course, Ray Stevenson, who plays Balin in the first season, sadly passed away before the season even released. So in season 2, Balin Skull has been recast as Rory McCann, which, by the way, is a great recast. The picture that they showed at Star Wars Celebration is awesome.
Yeah.
But he does look different. And there's no avoiding that. Unless the first time we see Balin is after he's already reached this power, and maybe it's morphed his physical appearance to a way like Abeloth. Like Abeloth looked like a normal being, and then after she goes into that, she's got this creepy smile. She's got like literally tentacles. Got like she's morphed like really, really bad. So maybe we could get something similar to that with Balin Skull to explain not only the recast but also to show how much power is just oozing out of him. Like he looks physically different. Yes. Obviously, his clothes would be the same, but other than that, he would look different. So it's almost just a theory based off of playing devil's advocate for maybe it's not Abeloth all along. Like it's a possibility that it's not Abeloth, but all lines do point to that being the case. So I don't know. What do you think?
So I've been thinking of the recast. It's like, yeah, it's very unfortunate, Ray's passing. There's nothing you can, do to prevent that. It's just, things happen like that in life. And it's also, from what I know, I never watched the Game of Thrones, but I know, Rory McCann plays the Hound or the Howler in
The Hound, yeah.
the Hound. There we go. I knew it was an H word, but
Yeah.
he kind of is like deformed, like on a side of his face. So
Yep.
I'm just like, okay, maybe, getting that he's played parts where he is, kind of deformed or has battle scars or anything like that. So this, like you mentioned, could kind of solve that recast. He's gonna look different. Ray Stevenson's character in Balin Skull is going to appear different. So it's like, oh, okay. So now with this new character in Balin being Rory McCann, it's going to switch up a little bit. So now going forward, maybe there are some, deforming like of the face or the physical appearance. And for me, thinking Abeloth coming to live action, from what I know and what I've read online, is that she's very chaotic and very OP. So like, can Legend or can canon Star Wars right now handle that? There's always those people who want Star Killer to come to live action. Me personally, I never played the game, so I don't have that attachment to the character. But what I know of him, I'm just like, okay, cool character, cool concept, but how is this going to work in the current timeline? I kind of look at Abeloth in the same way, but that doesn't mean that Balin can be the live action version, because I've also been reading a lot online too of even Thrawn. So I feel like this can also be another correlation with what Disney and Lucasfilm are doing right now. Is, Timothy Zahn's version of Thrawn is a little bit different than what they're showing in live action in Rebels. So there could be just some different adaptations. So maybe this Abeloth character can be basically the same thing, but here's the male version. Here's the version of, Balin Skull reaching the pool of knowledge. I kind of buy that theory more than, Sam Witwer playing the son, calling to him, come replace me, like that kind of thing. I kind of buy the pool of knowledge a lot more, as it would make a little bit more sense. But like you said, 90% of the time we never know what we're talking about.
That's true. Well, sort of to go back to the Abeloth of it all, I think if they do go down that route, because she is so powerful, she can't be let free. So the gist of it is the Mortis gods imprison her after she becomes way too powerful. And I guess what we're assuming here is that prison is this Peridia planet. And that's why there's the Mortis god statues there that Balin's standing on and all that stuff. So in the Clone Wars, all three Mortis gods die. Like the father, son, daughter, they're all dead. So maybe that allows Abeloth to now have the somewhat faint ability to call out through the Force to Balin Skull and have him come and rescue her or let her free. Now, like you just mentioned, she's way too overpowered to be let out right now. If she was let out, then she'd make it back to the main galaxy, and she would be a huge problem for the New Republic, for Luke, for Leia, for Han, for everybody. And that would definitely be mentioned in the sequel trilogy, which it's not. So I assume that even if this is all about Abeloth, if that's the end goal, she somehow, with Sabine and Ahsoka, will be stopped. Like, she won't get out. Balin Skull, whatever his mission is, it will be stopped. And I'd love to see just a little bit of a sneak peek at Abeloth's power. Like, maybe she, is making people hallucinate or see something that they don't really see. Like Ahsoka maybe sees Anakin, like real Anakin in physical form, and she knows it's not real and has to fight that. Or maybe Anakin's Force Ghost sees like Padme and has to fight that. Like something really, really cool like that, but just a sneak peek as to what her powers could be. But they keep her a prisoner with Anakin, Ahsoka. Maybe they get through to Balin and he helps too. And those three specifically will have to pretty much stand as the guards and the guardians of this prison. Pretty much the new Mortis gods, in a way. Because Ahsoka is pretty much the daughter, and Anakin is pretty much the father. And Balin could work pretty well as the son as well. So you could have those three pretty much stay there. Sabine can go home. Shin maybe could even go home to the regular galaxy and help out with Thrawn. But I feel like Ahsoka Season 2 is going to be telling two completely different stories. One about Thrawn and one about whatever the hell's going on Peridia. And it'll be... I still just baffles me, and I don't understand how they're going to be able to fit all this into 8 episodes. Like, it's not a lot of time to tell that big of a story, and that's why I don't think Abeloth's going to break free, because there's not enough time to tell that story.
Yeah.
And it would also explain where Ahsoka is. Ahsoka's not in the sequels. She doesn't help out with Luke and his Jedi Temple, so where is she? A good explanation would be she is doing the most important thing in the entire galaxy, or galaxies, and that is protecting the entire universe from this horrible threat. Like, that would be a noble thing, and be actually a probably not good end to
Right.
Ahsoka's story, but a good sort of place to put her while we tell other stories.
Yes, and I buy that 1000% because yeah, like you mentioned, we don't see her in the sequel trilogies. What is she
Yep.
doing, when during the events right before The Force Awakens, like with Luke and his Jedi temple, and like just where is she?
Yeah.
When we also hear her voice speaking to Rey in The Rise of
Yes.
Skywalker, which we hear a lot of Jedi, even Kanan Jarrus.
Yep.
Really cool. But that just sets up the character of Ahsoka, me being a guy who I didn't care for Ahsoka at first. I'm like, no way. Anakin does not have a Padawan. Stop this nonsense.
Yeah.
But, you know, over time, top 10 character in my list. I love Ahsoka. She's great.
Yep.
The Ahsoka series, of course, is wonderful. But at the same time, giving Ahsoka that big of a role into understanding, like, hey, maybe this is where I belong. I'm where I am. I don't need to be back, which, it's sad that she can't, be back with Hera and Ezra and, the rest of the crew. But at the same
Yeah.
time, maybe this is just what it's meant to be, like, just
Yeah.
simple as that. She has to be here. Maybe, her, Anakin, and Balin being the new set of Mortis gods, like this, it makes so much sense, and it paints a picture for why they're not prominent characters going forward. And of course, by the time of the sequel trilogies, it's not about Anakin or Ahsoka or almost even some characters like Luke, Han, and Leia. Like, they get their
Yep.
brief moments, but it's really about Rey, Ben Solo, and the resistance in the final, or the First Order. So
Yeah.
it's going to be very interesting. But to me, in my mind, I feel like it just makes so much sense that Ahsoka is just absolutely where she needs to be, man. I mean, Peridia, it's just, it makes sense why she's there and not in the main galaxy, end of the day.
Yeah, and as you bring up, like, her introduction in the Clone Wars, it does seem like she's been going down this path for a long, long time. She's one of only 3 people who get to even go to Mortis in the first place in the
Yeah.
Clone Wars. So, and she survives by Anakin transferring the daughter's essence into her, giving her this new purpose, pretty much. Then she leaves the Jedi Order, and then she even gets another 2 goes of it when Ezra saves her with the World Between Worlds, and then Anakin saves her with the World Between Worlds. Why is this character so important? What is she destined to do, as you put it? Maybe this is it, like, to protect everybody from this crazy threat. And then what happens when Ahsoka dies? Well, eventually she'll die. So what happens then? Do we have to get new Mortis gods? And does she have to recruit the next generation? Or is she just dead and Abeloth gets let free, and then Rey or somebody else in a post-sequel world has to deal with that, which would be crazy.
Yeah.
But
Wow. That would be very, very interesting. Now to kind of, there's always, Bryce Dallas Howard mentioned there's this romance. So
yeah,
I've heard some rumors and theories that there's a love interest that Ezra finds, and she's like an Imperial, like, remnant, one of Thrawn's people, and basically turns and basically gets him captured. So I don't know if this is the romance part or another thing that's been circulating, and I've actually been thinking about this, and you just see it all over season 1. Maybe Shin and Sabine end up being a thing, which, either way, cool, but I don't
yeah.
know if that necessarily means that we have to have a couple for there to be romance in Ahsoka season 2, but that's
Yeah.
kind of what I'm thinking. That's just kind of what it looks like it's pointing towards, but
Yeah.
could be a cool little concept.
Well, I kind of got from season 1, and maybe I'm the only one, but I sort of saw like sort of a love triangle thing with Sabine, Shin, and Ezra. I want Shin to sort of get a redemption arc, like her master leaves her. I wanted to come back to the light. You actually kind of got a glimpse of maybe her thinking about it at the end of season 1.
Mm,
Uh, but I'd love to see her come back to the light. And honestly, I could see Ezra and Shin together. But that's, I mean, as a Rebels fan, you kind of got to go with you want Ezra and Sabine to end up together. Ezra, of course, loving Sabine his whole childhood. And then when Sabine finds him, Ezra's sort of past that, but now Sabine likes him. It's like this whole back and forth. But going back to the sort of rumors you were just talking about an ex-Imperial and Ezra falling in love with that is so similar to the legend story of what is Mara Jade. And my chat always gives me crap for bringing up Mara Jade left, right, and center, but she's a great character, so I'm going to do it again. When it comes to her character in Legends, she was the Emperor's hand, and then the last thing the Emperor tells her to do is kill Luke Skywalker. So when the Emperor dies, and then she eventually goes to try and kill Luke Skywalker, it ends up not working, and slowly over time, Luke brings her to the light, and then they fall in love, and then they get married and have kids, blah, blah, blah. What if we get a similar canon version of that story with Ezra and whoever? It doesn't even have to be Mara Jade. It could be a new character. And sort of a similar thing where she's an Imperial. He brings her to the light. They fall in love and so on and so forth. That would be kind of cool. I like that.
Yeah, cool. I'm down with that too. That's the thing too, is I never grew up reading the, expanded universe or the legend books, none of that. So like when and for the most part, most of the bigger stories you understand, you're like, okay, yeah, I get, Mara Jade, I get, Star Killer, Thrawn, all those things. But we see Thrawn in live action. And like I said earlier, he's a little different. But yeah, bringing a character from a Legends aspect, which I kind of look at Legends as the what if, just because we have canon, we have the established timeline in what's real. So that doesn't mean you can't dabble. I mean, how many times have we seen Legend materials come to canon? So I mean, it can happen, so different adaptations of that story can still make so much sense. Cool with me.
Absolutely. Yeah. And I mean, that's what we're getting right now anyway, is canon adaptations of Thrawn and the Heir to the Empire and all this, because in Legends, characters like Din Djarin, Grogu, Boba Fett, Fennec Shan, Bo-Katan, all the Mandalorians, the Ghost Crew, Hera Syndulla, Zeb, Ezra, none of those characters existed. So this canon version is going to be very, very different than that Legends version. And for some people, that might be like, oh no, this is a disaster. But I think it's actually a good thing. Why just retell the exact same story again when you can put a new, great sort of twist on it, especially with the character of Thrawn? Because in Legends, he's just a villain. In canon now, he's like this really, he's got this crazy backstory of him not like being that bad of a guy because he's just trying to do it for his people and all this other stuff. So yeah, I think the canon version might actually end up being better than the Legends version, but that's just me.
Yeah, for sure. I feel like I gravitate more towards the live action version. And I mean, even in Rebels, he's a really cool character. I love that we could see him in Tales of the Empire too. I thought his minimal performance in that was just really cool. And plus, another Ahsoka character, and Morgan Elsbeth or Mandoverse and Mandalorian as well. And yeah, I mean, it's really good. And I like the direction they're going. It's kind of, you look at live action Thrawn and you're just kind of like, I don't hate this guy, but I feel like what he wants is not right, so he's just kind of one of those characters that kind of falls in the middle, but has his own plan and wants to, and of course with Emperor Palpatine, he obviously wants to be, he's feeling like he was only as prominent because I wasn't in the main galaxy during the basically like the prime of the Empire. So he was there, but he didn't really get to see the full reign. So now he's like, let me show y'all like what an emperor should do, So that's another cool thing.
Yeah, I one of the coolest things that I love about Thrawn, specifically from the first Thrawn trilogy of canon stuff, is that he was really, really, really against the Death Star program. He wanted to make the TIE Defenders, which you see in Tales of the Empire and even in Rebels. He wants to make the TIE Defenders. He thinks it's a way better use of their time because now you have this advanced army instead of just a Death Star, which he finds stupid. And it's funny because he disappears. He goes off to Peridia with Ezra, and then the Death Star happens, and it ends up being this huge disaster. Actually, twice it ends up being this huge disaster. And then he comes back, and I can't wait for him to be like, "Yeah, I told you so." But yeah, Thrawn is such a great character. He's always 10 steps ahead, and I still think the coolest thing that nobody really talks about when it comes to Thrawn with season 1 of Ahsoka is that he's running from something. Like, he is trying to get as fast as possible off of Peridia, and we don't know why. Whether it's Abeloth, whether it's something else, like that planet, as Balin tells us in season 1 too, used to be this thriving planet of Night Sisters everywhere. Like, it was a great
Yeah.
place, and now it's all dead. It's desert. It's all just, or not desert, but it's all ruins, and it's all just dead. So what happened? And Thrawn is clearly running from that. He's been there 11 years, and he's like, get me out of here.
Yeah, I don't need to be here.
Yeah, he's willing to leave Ahsoka alive. He's willing to leave Ezra and Balin all left behind, just because he doesn't have time for that. He could stay and kill them and outwit them or whatever, but he's out of there because he doesn't want to deal with whatever is there, and he wants to get back to the galaxy as soon as possible. So what he's running from is what I think season 2 is going to be all about, especially for Ahsoka's side of the story.
Right. Yeah. What she's dealing, like what she may be dealing with, because I always love when they're like, we count this, we count this minor loss as like a big advantage to our side. Like, just even hearing him just talking that kind of mannerism, just like, oh my God, this dude is a master strategist, like when we knew that, but him just being like, yeah, Ahsoka Tano is, she loses today and they get out of there. But I mean, just seeing Thrawn pull up to Dathomir with the Night Mothers, like, oh my God, dude, like, what is this going to lead up to? I mean, Dathomir in live action could actually, I mean, it's going to break my mind, but I think this is like internet breaking material. Like, the entire second season could very well be that.
It's cool too, because they didn't show us in season 1. They just showed us the planet. They didn't show us like the surface of the planet, because we haven't seen Dathomir in live action yet. So what does that sort of look like, different from animation? That'll be really, really cool. Yeah. I mean, this second season has, again, so much to do in only 8 episodes. But when you hear Dave Filoni at Celebration say it's going to be a war in our Star Wars with Thrawn versus the New Republic, like, that is just so cool. Like, they're doing the best of their ability to bring a war for us in Star Wars, and that's just going to be awesome.
Oh, dude. Yes. I can't wait for it. Just, I mean, even Celebration, hearing that Akbar and Thrawn are going to be butting heads, like, dude, sign me up. And the rumors of seeing a little bit of Leia in this as well. Like, dude, like, come on. Like, Luke and Han, great. Lando, great. Love these characters. But like, at the end of the day, dude, I'm a sucker for Leia Organa, dude. I love her character. One of my favorites of the original trilogy, and just knowing that she's still prominent. Of course, her name is mentioned in Ahsoka season 1. Some of the events in Ahsoka season 1 wouldn't have happened, if Leia Organa wasn't working in the background, especially with Hera and the New Republic. So, I mean, yeah, dude, this is a great time. But even like bringing in other characters, and this is another thing that I've seen you talk about, is this a good moment where Cal Kestis could make his live action debut in the Mandoverse as a whole? Because when you mentioned it, I was like, look, if we're going Thrawn and the Night Sisters versus, the Ghost Crew and the New Republic, I mean, look, Cal grew up, after Order 66, hating the Empire. When you play the 2 games, what are you doing the whole time? You're literally killing Imperials and remnants of all sorts and everything. And now his love interest is, his other is a Night Sister. Now, she may not be close with this set of Night Sisters or what they're bringing from the dead, what's in the catacombs. But knowing that if she's with Cal and siding with the Republic, is she going to want to fight against, her home planet of Dathomir? I feel like it's just kind of crazy. I mean, you look at us on Earth, like, maybe Canada versus, the United States. We have an NBA player on a NBA team that has to play against, like Canada. Like, you don't want to do that. You want to play for your home country, so
that's true. I actually never really thought of that. Yeah, that's I never really thought of it that way. Will Merrin even want to fight the Night Sisters because she's one of them? That's pretty interesting. But in terms of Cal coming over to live action, I think it's inevitable. I mean, you just saw Cal in Rebuild the Galaxy season 2 for like a couple seconds or a couple minutes maybe, and they hyped that up like crazy, as they should, because Cal's awesome. But they brought in Cameron Monaghan, who's the voice of Cal and the face, and they did a ton of interviews with him and like just promotion like crazy for Rebuild the Galaxy, where he's only in it for a couple minutes. So they're really pushing Cal and Cameron on us a lot. Again, as they should be. It's a great character, but it
Right.
makes you think that there is something bigger happening. Like he's going to come over to live action very, very soon. Could it be next year in either the Mandalorian and Grogu movie or Ahsoka season 2? Maybe. I'd be sort of surprised if it was next year before the third game, but I mean, why not? Like,
Yeah, why
what are we
not?
waiting for? Yeah. Well, the why not would be it would maybe affect the game because the third game you would know he doesn't die, but who's really assuming that he's going to die anyway? Uh,
Yeah.
Either way, Ahsoka season 2 seems like a great spot for, again, the same reasons you just mentioned: the connection to Dathomir, the fact that Thrawn is there. Cal Kestis goes to Dathomir a bunch of times in the games, and his girlfriend is a Night Sister. So there's all those connections that bring Cal directly into this story, and it'll be so easy. And he's a fan favorite character. Like that,
Yeah.
it seems like a no brainer. And he's a Jedi, so it could help out with maybe Luke's Jedi Temple, or maybe Ezra, or Jason Syndulla,
Mhm.
stuff like that. I mean, Cal, to me, having played both those games and loving them unbelievably, I really, really want to see him as soon as possible. But whenever the time is right, I'm sure they'll get it done. Like he's a great actor. There's a reason they made him the face of the character, not just the voice. And they've seen this coming from a mile away. All these things are connected. That's the best part.
Yes. Yeah, whenever the time's right. That's a good spot for, Cameron Monaghan, cuz I think, of course I've seen him in other projects, and he's
Yeah.
just great. He's just great. Like that's literally
Yeah.
all you can say. I love seeing the new Tron, movie, and they're showing, his
Yeah.
his training sequences and stuff, and it's like, "Ooh, imagine that with some lightsabers." Um
Exactly.
so I mean, yeah, he's definitely there, and plus, yeah, he's one of the last Jedi that's around that, trained at the temple. So
Yeah.
like that's a huge advantage going forward. I mean, you know, Ezra is considered a Boken Jedi as well. I mean, how many other Boken Jedi are there in this Mandoverse timeline? So, I mean,
Exactly.
Cal definitely, seeing Grogu at the Jedi Temple, that would be another great connection.
Yeah.
And just like in that feeling of watching the Jedi episode when Ahsoka and Grogu got together for the first time, and she was, they're reading each other's minds, they were talking, and it's just really cool to know like she was able to find out so much about Grogu in just like 2 minutes of an episode, so
Yeah.
like this is awesome. What more can we find out with, Cal Kestis coming, and kind of fitting in a good spot for a story. So, I mean, yeah,
Yeah.
Cal Kestis, sign me up. I'm here for it all day.
Oh yeah. Well, again, you bring up a great point. The fact that it can connect all these different things. Uh, I always imagine that over at Lucasfilm, maybe in Dave Filoni's office or something, there's this bunch of whiteboards and all these different projects that take place all across the timeline have lines connecting to each other, like all this connects to that and that connects to this. I think that so much of the projects that we see, especially over the last maybe 5 to 8 years, have been connected. Like they have been on purpose. You look at like the Bad Batch setting up Omega, the fact that she is the
Mm,
only person that we know of that can transfer midichlorians to a force sensitive clone body, or setting up Mount Tantus, which I assume we'll see at some point in live action with this Thrawn stuff, a cloning facility. And then you have all the stuff with what could happen in the Maul series coming up with the Underworld and maybe even a Darth Talon that could connect to all this stuff. But even the Jedi games connect to Cal Kestis possibly being in the Mandoverse. And it just all feels so very connected, each project. And when you look at the Mandoverse specifically, Skeleton Crew, Ahsoka, Book of Boba Fett, Mando, they're all going to come together. Dave Filoni's movie, when it was announced all those years ago, was supposed to be a culmination movie of all these different projects. So at some point, you're going to see a crossover of people like Neil from Skeleton Crew all the way to Din Djarin and Ezra and everybody in between to take down Grand Admiral Thrawn. And it's all going to feel like an Avengers Assemble moment for Star Wars. Like it'll feel like this big years in the making type thing that we've been waiting for so long.
yeah, and that's the thing too, is it's kind of like the premise of everything.
Yeah.
Hello, Pam. Thanks for joining. Appreciate you. Hello, Mike and everyone. What's up? What's up? Kind of going forward, like that was kind of the next point too, is like John on Nodwood and the, how
Yeah.
are the kids going to be connected to this story as well, like the grand circle here of the Mandoverse, and it, yeah, like what's
Yeah.
stopping Neil or KB from, maybe taking down a little aspect of some like night
Yeah.
troopers, like who knows, like we could see some cool things. But how do we think like Jod is going to fit in? And I know on the podcast episode that I had you on, which is a great one, guys, make sure you go check that out, season 2, Guy Who Loves Star Wars. But that was a really good thing that we were talking about, was At-Aten is right next to Dathomir
Yeah.
on the galaxy map, because the conversation we had was literally right that week of when that galaxy map
Yeah.
came out. So we're talking about that, and it's just like that they have so many old credits, and it's literally just a pool of money. So is
Yeah.
Thrawn going to use this to, enhance his little army or his little empire that he's starting? So like, is this how the skeleton crew is brought in? Is this how Jod Nanawood comes in?
Yeah, I mean, I think it could very well be. I assume because of that map, they put those two planets, Dathomir and At-Aten, right next to each other on purpose. At-Aten was a missing planet. It could be anywhere in the galaxy. They put it right next to Dathomir.
Yeah.
Thrawn needs money to fund the army, to be the empire that was before. He needs money, and there is whatever it is, 1,139 full vaults of money on At-Aten. But I think even more important than that, as you brought up, is Jod Nanawood. He's probably a prisoner there on the planet. And he reminds me of such a character. He's like a more evil version of Han Solo. He's a smuggler who really only cares for himself, but he's more evil than Han. So I think, and he's force sensitive a little bit. So
Yeah.
when Thrawn gets there, I think you'll see something of like he gets there, he sees all the prisoners, and Jod sort of talks his way into working with Thrawn. And I still think that Jod eventually will turn against Thrawn and maybe even become a hero at some point. Maybe for the kids, because they have that connection from the first season. Maybe not. He does not kill the kids in the first season when he could have. So it's like he's kind of got a heart, sort of speak. But there's definitely going to be some sort of connection there, because Thrawn is going to need the money. He's going to go to At-Aten, and that's how you tie in Jod. That's how you tie in the kids. That's how it all comes together. Jod I could easily see being like is his name DJ from The Last Jedi?
The code breaker, yeah.
Yes, the code breaker. He switches on Finn and Rose like it's nothing. Like I could see Jod doing something like that and being like, "Yeah, Thrawn, I'll help you out." So I could see something like that happening, and it would be his way to get out of prison and back into the story. And he's force sensitive, so Thrawn might find a use for him in that capacity too. Maybe being some sort of canon version of Jorah Sabaoth or something like that.
Oh yeah,
but that'd be pretty great. Seeing like Jod go toe to toe with Ezra or something with a lightsaber, that would be pretty great. Either way, it definitely causes for the skeleton crew. Like when you watch Skeleton Crew, it seems very unconnected. Other than the New Republic showing up at the very end, you still don't really see any familiar faces, but you see the New Republic itself. It's not connected to anything else, at least not yet. So it seems like it's being set up to be connected to something else. It just hasn't happened yet. And it looks like this Dathomir being right next to At-Aten is that connection. I will bring up now that you brought up the map too, that map, not only are those two planets next to each other, but right down sort of to the right of Dathomir is Mandalore. And even a little bit more down to the left is Wayland, which is where Mount Tantus is. So all of these very important planets that have been focused on for the Mandalorian's seasons and for the Bad Batch's seasons, they're all in this very small little section of the galaxy right next to each other. So I think you're going to see, I don't know how Thrawn's going to go about the Mandalorians. I could see him, because he does this in Rebels and he does this in the books, knowing all about the Mandalorians and their culture and all that. So we could get something cool like that. But after the Mandalorian season 3, I don't see the Mandalorians sort of joining Thrawn, but I also don't see them able to even compete with Thrawn if he tries to invade Mandalore. There's already an Imperial facility there. Moff Gideon already had his stuff there. I don't know. I don't know how the whole Thrawn and Mandalorians are going to go, but I
Yeah,
do think he'll take Wayland in Mount Tantus, maybe do some cloning there, maybe, and then we'll see him also. Maybe even he creates Snoke. That would be crazy. But and also take AT-AT. But
man, dude,
it's a lot of craziness.
it is a lot of craziness. It's like
Yeah,
it's almost suspect what they're doing. It's like I know what you're
I
doing,
know.
Dave Filoni. You're
Yeah,
being weird, and I didn't think of Wayland being anywhere close to there because I feel like I knew that Mandalore was somewhere in like the area, even just a small sector of the galaxy, but not even that close.
yeah,
So that's got me thinking even more because now it's like obviously you point out the character or the players. So you have like Thrawn, he has the undead night trooper army. He's got magic on his side as with night sisters, and then on the other side you have Jedi with the force. You have some Mandalorians. You know, it's gonna be Boba Fett, Fennec Shan, Chrysanthemum, Cobb Vanth, Mando, and then now you're going maybe Jod Nanawood unless he turns DJ and goes with Thrawn for a little bit, which that could be even a turn of events. He's siding with Thrawn for maybe the whole movie, and then
yep,
you kind of like find out some things are switched, or he knows a soft spot in Thrawn's plan, gets that exposed, and now we have the Ghost Crew: Ezra, Zeb, Hera, Jason, Chopper. You know, Chopper's known
yeah,
for unaliving a lot of people at once, so maybe some night
yeah,
troopers just get murked. I don't know.
yeah,
I mean, there's so many. It feels like there's so many strong points on Mando's side compared to Thrawn's, but like, will Thrawn also have this big presence? Is he gonna like bring back, you know, they've taken a Night Brother before and turned him into a pawn for a huge movement in Savage Opress. Do they do
yeah,
that again? Do they do something of that sort again? I
yeah,
always love the first like rumors of like the Thrawn with the Night Sisters is like, oh, they're gonna bring back Darth Maul, like that's always fun, but it's like, don't do that, leave Maul to
don't do that.
rest.
Yeah.
But yeah, it's like, what are the players looking like? Do you have any like thoughts of like what the teams would look like?
I mean, Thrawn seems like he has the advantage here. And actually, this goes back to a point you were talking about earlier with Leia possibly being in Ahsoka season 2, because in season 1, Leia is the only one who really believes Hera at all, that Thrawn could be coming back, because everybody else is like, nope, that's not happening. I remember Senator Ziona was like, that's impossible. You just want to see your friend again, Ezra. Like, that's just let it go. The New Republic, their downfall, which we know eventually happens, is because they're first of all not powerful enough. They don't have a big enough army to reach the outer rim or even the unknown regions for that matter. But they also are just oblivious to what's happening. Like they don't even take into effect take in that it could be possible that Thrawn comes back. They don't even care. They're like, nope, not going to happen. And that's what's going to slap them in the face. But Leia does believe that and does think that that could happen. So the only thing that's sort of going for the New Republic side of things would be Leia. And that's why I think she could be in Ahsoka season 2. But if you see one side with, for example, the Mandalorian and Grogu movie, the Mandalorian and Grogu movie is just going to be Din and Grogu with the New Republic sort of backing them. And then they're going to find that the New Republic the remnant of the Empire is a lot more powerful. Grand Admiral Thrawn is going to have a Night Sister army, a stormtrooper army, and who knows what else if he goes to Mount Tantus and starts cloning stuff or whatever. He's going to have a way bigger army than we ever imagined. The Shadow Council is going to be more united than ever, and it's going to be a big threat. So in that first movie, you're going to see the New Republic is way outmatched. Then come Ahsoka, you'll see them maybe take it seriously. Like Admiral Akbar is sort of a rogue in and of himself. Like he's sort of like Hera, where even if the New Republic is telling him not to go fight Thrawn, he'll still go do it.
Oh yeah.
So maybe you see something like that. I think what you're going to see is the New Republic not take Thrawn seriously, and then it's going to have to be the heroes that we see from the shows have to take him down, like Din Djarin, Cobb Vanth, Boba Fett, the people who aren't connected really to the New Republic. They're going to have to take him down, and that's sort of how oblivious the New Republic is, and also how the First Order does rise to power right under their noses too. But you're going to see sort of the teams, as you put it, Thrawn, Night Sisters, maybe even Jod on his team, Stormtroopers, Shadow Council, for the most part, you'll probably see some infighting there too, versus the others. Not really the New Republic, because they're still going to be like the Senator Xionos who are like, nah, we're good. We got our own issues over here. We don't need to fight another war. But it's going to be your Din Djarin's, Grogu's, Sabine's, Hera's, Ezra's, Zeb's, Carson Tava's,
Yeah.
Cobb Vanth, the Vespa Gang, Boba Fett, Fennec Shand, all those people. And that's what's the coolest part too, is they've established that in the shows. Din Djarin, the first 3 seasons, it's all about him getting friends. He gets friends with Bo-Katan, Ahsoka Tano, kind of Luke Skywalker, Boba Fett, Fennec Shand, like all these people. Din Djarin is the connecting piece. He's the one who brings all those people together. So that's why you're going to see those people come together to fight Thrawn, because Din's probably going to assemble the Avengers and try to take down Thrawn, because the New Republic won't listen to them. So that's how I think it'll go down.
Man, just knowing, like, seeing Fennec Shand, talking to Din Djarin and being like, hey, we need muscle, and just that recruitment process, it takes me back to how I felt during this time. So it will be so insane to just think of Din, going around being like, guys, I need you one last time. Like, this isn't going to end well. And like, when I think of this entire Mando verse, it's all of these different outcomes that can happen. Who's going to survive? Who's going to die? Who's not going to go on? Like, are some going to like go into hiding after this? Like, this is insane. Like, there's so much that can happen. And I want to see it, of course, but I'm also very scared to see what's going to happen. We do know Grogu's not going to die. Mando very much is on the hot seat. Din Djarin, he's, how many near-death experiences has this dude had just in his show alone? It would break my heart if this is where Boba goes out. It would. Cobb Vanth, the Silver Fox of the Galaxy, my guy. Like, what's going to happen to him? I mean, he survived a shot from Cad Bane, which, not many can say they've done that. But I don't know, dude. Bo-Katan, the Mandalorians, Hera, Ezra, like, there's going to be some sacrifice in some way, and it's scary, man.
Yeah. I really don't know who will die and who won't die, but for all of these characters that we're mentioning right now, none of them appear in the sequels. So that could either be a good thing or a bad thing. One, they're off screen in the sequels and they're still alive and doing well, or they're dead. For the most part, you don't see Tatooine in the sequels except for the very last scene. So Boba Fett could still be on Tatooine doing his thing in the underworld that's unconnected to the sequel trilogy. You don't see Mandalore or Mandalorians in the sequels, so they could all be fine, or they could all be dead. Like, we don't know. Either way, you don't see them in the sequels. You don't see Grogu, so what's up with him? It's sort of a question of who will make it out and who won't. I think a character like Din Djarin, of course, is sort of like your Iron Man. Like, he could make this great sacrifice at the end. Or people like Boba Fett and Bo-Katan, who've been around since the Clone Wars, they've had their story. Like, they can have an end that will be meaningful. That'll be like a sacrifice type thing. I don't know. It is hard to tell.
It makes me so sad just to think about. But I mean, it's Star Wars. We didn't. Sometimes you don't want Darth Vader to die, but he does. And you don't want Luke to die, he dies. So it shows that it happens. It's a part of anything. With living, you're gonna die. It's kind of unavoidable, but with, especially if the story's good, which for the most part I feel like Star Wars always tells a good story. Some are better than others, but it's just like, this is where you can really capitalize in this Mandoverse, in this end movie or trilogy or whatever they want to do, however it ends and come to a halt. This is something that can be really, really good. And it's just, you bring all these big players in. Is Thrawn gonna go out in a weird way? Is Ezra finally gonna be the one that takes him down? Does he have to take him down together? They got shot off in the galaxy together, so who says that they won't end up going out together? So I don't know, dude. And it's like, we already know what's later. and that's the sequels. There's a
Yes.
bigger threat. Palpatine's back. Like
Yep.
always playing chess while everyone's playing checkers. He knows how
Yeah.
everything works and how he orchestrates. But we know Thrawn, more than likely, I would say there's like a 99% chance that he is not alive by the time of the sequel trilogy, unless he gets shot to another galaxy somewhere again.
Yeah.
Which, God, that would be almost even probably worse than dying, just having to go be stranded on another random, planet in a galaxy again. But I mean, yeah, dude, it's so fun. Like, this is a great time. And I feel like a lot of people overlook even what the Mandalorian and Grogu can be. Like, yes, is this going to put asses in seats because Grogu is cute and Din Djarin is awesome? 1000%. I talk to people at my full-time job that are like, oh, I love Baby Yoda. He's so cool. I can't wait till the movie. Did you see there's a movie? And it's like, are you kidding me? Do you know who you're talking to? Of course I know there's a movie. But it's like, it's cool to know that even not fans of Star Wars like us are going to be there. But that story is more than that. It's setting up for something bigger, and it's going to be a pivotal role in this Mandoverse that we've been talking about this entire time.
Yeah, no, absolutely. When it comes to Thrawn dying before the sequels, I think that's possible. I mean, it's probably highly likely actually because he's not around. But you bring up Palpatine. It's so on brand for Thrawn to maybe not know right away, but figure out that Palpatine's still alive. Like, he doesn't really know what happened over the last 11 years. He's been out of the loop in a different galaxy. So as he figures that out, it would be so great to see him be like the first and only person who figures it out and knows that he's alive on Exegol. Like, he's such a genius that he would be the one to do that. And it would be even better if he like warns somebody about it and they're like, what do you mean? Like, imagine if he warned Luke about it. Like, imagine there's a scene where Grand Admiral Thrawn's standing face to face with Luke Skywalker with a lightsaber to his throat, and he's like, I gotta tell you something. And he's like, what? He's like, you know that Emperor that you think you killed on the second, or you think Darth Vader killed on the second Death Star? He's like, yeah. He's like, he's still alive. and Luke's like, I don't think so. I watched him die. We all
I was there.
Luke's like the audience. He's like, yeah, we all watched him die. And Thrawn's like, nope, he's still alive, And what would even be better with that is as Thrawn dies, he gets defeated, whatever happens, that bit of knowledge that Palpatine's still alive, that Thrawn told Luke that Palpatine's still alive, would be eating at him for the rest of his life. And then as Ben Solo falls to the dark side, as Snoke in the First Order rises to power, he's like, is this Palpatine? And then the entire time he's like, what's happening? And then his nephew turns to the dark side and kills all of his Jedi, and he's like, oh my God, it was Palpatine all along. And then it hits the Agatha All Along soundtrack, and then we're all like, oh my God.
Oh my goodness, dude.
But it would be so great. It would be so great if Thrawn plants the seed of Palpatine still alive and nobody believes him, because why would they?
Yeah.
But he's right. It's like Fives when he finds the inhibitor chips in their head and nobody believes him, but he was right. And as the audience, you're going, believe him, he's right, but they don't.
Oh my goodness, that's groundbreaking. What you do is what was it? Is it Battlefront 2 where it's kind of where like Palpatine's like in that body and it's like a holographic face? Like, what if there's something like that brought into faction to where Thrawn is like speaking with Palpatine, and Palpatine's like, look, you were going to want to do this, and maybe Thrawn feeds off of that a little bit and is like, yeah, I will, I'll run things this way. But he's like, ultimately, in Palpatine, how many people have we seen in Star Wars? How many people has he persuaded into thinking, oh, help me and I'll help you, or I can help you? Who says he doesn't do that to Thrawn? Like, listen to me. I have this entire planet called Exegol, and it's out in the unknown regions. You know a little bit about the unknown regions, Thrawn. So you go out there. I will give you this part. Maybe this is, some of the Sith, like Wayfinders and stuff, that could belong to the Sith, but maybe that's a connection to Thrawn. Maybe there's a bigger reason why Luke goes to Octo and hides out there, and everyone's like, oh, that's not my Luke. Like, he's such a, it's a baby move. And it's like, dude, maybe knowing that Palpatine, like in the back of his mind, Thrawn's like, yeah, Palpatine is still alive. Like how you mentioned, that would make so much more sense, on top of losing his nephew, on top of losing his sister, his twin sister, and his best friend's child
Yep.
going forward, on top of all that guilt he has, this would make so much more sense knowing that this entire time Palpatine was still looming behind the curtains, and that would just eat at Luke as well. Like, dude, I think we
Have,
have a story here.
have you read this book, Shadow of the Sith?
Nope, I have not.
Okay.
Them two, Luke and Lando are trying to find Ochi, right? Is that what the premise
Yeah,
is, or is that just a
Ochi's on the
little part
planet.
of it? Oh, okay, cool.
So the beginning is Lando's looking for his daughter, like he is in the sequels still. And Luke sort of he happens upon these parents on the run. He happens upon Ochi, I think, and he's trying to hunt down these parents on the run with a daughter, and that's Rey and her parents. So it's Rey and her parents running from Ochi, and then why Rey ends up on Jakku. While also Luke and Lando are looking for this girl, Rey, and Luke goes to Titan and sits on the Seeing Stone, same way Grogu does in the book. And what he sees is he gets transported to, I guess it's a Force vision, but he gets transported to Exegol. So he's there on Exegol. Luke is. And he sees like these shadowy figures all come around him with red lightsabers, and actually Anakin comes to save him. It's a crazy book. Read it. But all that to say, Luke is almost looking for slash figuring out that Exegol is out there. And it's not that he knows that Palpatine's still alive, but like it's almost he can sense it. So imagine you plant the seed. Again, we're still like 25 years before the sequels or something. You plant the seed of Palpatine's return in Luke's head, and for years and years and years, it just eats at him. And then he goes and sits on the Seeing Stone on Titan, because this only takes place a couple of years before the sequels. He sits on the Seeing Stone on Titan and sees this ancient Sith place of Exegol, and he feels Palpatine's presence there. Like that would just destroy him. And especially if his nephew's being called out to by Palpatine, as you hear at the beginning of Rise of Skywalker, I've been every voice you've ever heard, and it switches
It's so
between.
tough.
Yeah, it's so good. But it would mean so much more if that's what happens. Like if Luke knows or he's warned that Palpatine's still alive and he doesn't believe it, because how could that possibly be true? He saw it with his own two eyes. He saw him die. And then it is true. And that's like, it would add so much to the sequels. Like it would add so much to Luke going into hiding, like you mentioned. It would add just so much to the story of Luke and to Palpatine's return. It would be incredible. It'd be so cool. Yeah.
Dude.
It's got me so excited.
See, and it's like, I feel like a lot of fans as well, the sequels are always touchy. But at the same time, you look at them and it's like, so that story has been told throughout 3 movies. There's times even in the prequels. I love the prequels. That's what I grew up with. But we get an entire series called The Clone Wars that enhances most of the problems throughout the prequel trilogy. So who says, we get books and different adaptations, but who says that we can't see that even in this Mandoverse? It's leading up towards that. This can connect and make so much sense. The Bad Batch, even with Project Necromancer, that right there, like, how are people upset that Palpatine returns still? This is why. This is how Poe Dameron didn't know. How would they know? It's all of this stuff in the darkness. Like this, it's all story enhancement.
Oh, I could not agree with you more. I mean, you look at a character like Palpatine, as powerful and genius as he was, and how obsessed he was and his master was with wanting to live forever. You have to imagine that genius that literally took an entire galaxy war where he was the leader of both sides of it. You have to imagine that he had a contingency plan. He had some idea where if he eventually died, because at some point Vader was going to try and kill him, that's how Master and Apprentice works with the Sith, that he had some sort of backup that he knew he would be able to survive.
Right.
That just, you have to imagine that he's that good of a bad guy. So to think that that's impossible is crazy. But how he does it, like you said, they plant the seeds from the prequel trilogy with Project Necromancer, right after the prequels with Bad Batch, and then it's all the way up and through the Mandalorian. It's all the way up and through the sequel trilogy. It's all right there in front of you. And this book specifically, actually, it makes me love the sequels so much more. There's just little bits of information. For example, Ochi. The dagger is a big deal for a lot of people. How the hell does this random dagger happen upon Rey that when you go like this, it perfectly points to, the second Death Star? How is that even possible? That's so stupid. But this book perfectly explains it. Palpatine himself, I guess not really himself, Palpatine sends his minions to Ochi of Bastoon and gives him this Sith dagger and tells him that if he kills the parents of this girl and captures the girl, which is Rey, this dagger will show him the way to Exegol. There it is. That's the explanation. It's not that complicated. It's Palpatine giving him a map to Exegol, which is if you follow the Sith writing on it, which they do in the movie, and then go to the second Death Star, it perfectly lines up to the Wayfinder. That makes perfect sense. Palpatine gave him a map to Exegol, and that's the dagger. So now when I watch The Rise of Skywalker, I'm not sitting there going, what the hell is this dagger? I go, I know exactly what the dagger is. It's perfectly explained. So it only takes a little bit of explanation. Project Necromancer and the Bad Batch, that knowledge from this book. Actually, there's a new canon comic of Kylo Ren where they just explained where the Knights of Ren have been. The Knights of Ren aren't in The Last Jedi. They're not even in The Force Awakens except for the flashback sequence. And now this book comic book just explained it. When Kylo Ren destroys the Jedi Temple with the Knights of Ren, they go off and start just going across the galaxy, destroying people. Then Snoke comes in and picks up Kylo and tells him it's time to come finish his training or whatever. And at that point, the First Order scares off the Knights of Ren and they have to go into hiding. So that's where the Knights of Ren are. And then it's not until Snoke is dead, then they come back and pledge their allegiance to Kylo Ren, and that's why they're working with him in The Rise of Skywalker. Without that comic book, none of that knowledge is there. So the sequel trilogy sounds like, well, what's going on with the Knights of Ren? Who are these guys?
Yeah.
But now you know. So the more content that they give us in the Mandoverse and around the sequels is only going to help explain it more. Because now when I watch the sequels, the dagger, the Knights of Ren, Palpatine returning, all that stuff makes so much more sense, and I enjoy it so much more.
Yeah.
So keep it coming. Keep doing more of that. Keep explaining how Palpatine returns. Keep giving us Thrawn and stuff like that with mentions of Exegol and all that. Give us a Luke Skywalker Jedi Temple show where we get to see the downfall of Kylo Ren and the rise of the First Order. And then the sequel trilogy, much like the prequels are so elevated by the Clone Wars and the Bad Batch, it'll become, hopefully, along that same level of fan favorite from people actually enjoying the sequels more.
Oh yeah, dude. I remember being a kid getting told by, friends and their family, like, dude, like this story is not good. It's not good. I'm like, what are you talking about? Like, this is great. And everyone now loves Hayden Christensen. Everyone loves the prequels. It's one of those things. But it's just like it will happen. I feel like the loudest people about the sequel trilogy are the ones who love the sequel trilogy. Those are the loudest ones. When you get the carpet grounded people, they're just like, oh, it sucks. It's not good. And that's okay. You don't have to like it. But I mean, I don't know. Just spending online, just talking about it, is just, I don't know. It's kind of weird. But yes, the story is always getting elevated. Open a book, pop on an Audible, you find it. You always find it right there. Is the Mandoverse about to end? I think it'll probably run for a few more years, give or take, because you still got to make the shows, you still got to write, and then plus we got Star Wars Starfighter. We have other things coming out, so yeah.
I hope we get a trilogy. That's my dream. So I hope it ends in a trilogy.
That'd be great. Trilogies are always good for the most part. I mean, there's also the James Mangold is supposed to have a trilogy that could be like 10, 11, 12, so I don't know. There's a lot to go forward. But yeah, man, I just want to say thank you for joining me today. This is great. Like I said, I feel like we can always talk for hours, but sometimes life happens and I got to do things. But yeah, man, already got some of your people in the comments and stuff. They know where they can find you. But for those who don't know about you, go ahead and let them know where they can find you, what your channel is about, all that. Floor is yours.
A guy who loves Star Wars on all things. Instagram, the X, formerly known as Twitter, YouTube, of course, and TikTok and all that stuff. Go live every Tuesday, Thursday, Saturday at 2 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. And that's about it. Big big things, big Star Wars things coming up.
Yes. Yeah, guys, go. If you don't already, everything in the description, you can find everything with Mike, a guy who loves Star Wars. Go check out the live streams right during the middle of the day, 3 times a week. So you get a lot of stuff, and he covers everything. They're always fun to chime in. Community's great. So yeah, make sure you guys go follow him. But yeah, with that being said, if you're new here, make sure you hit the subscribe button. Watch the replay. Everything on our end, all things Star Wars, lore, theories, lots of theories, Funko and Lego. So everything in between. Make sure you guys follow. And Haja, I am also one of your people too, Brandolorian. Hey, wink at you, right back to you, brother. Thanks for joining. But with all that being said, we will see y'all in the next one. This is the way.